So the most rewarding is one to actually see your work on a surface, like the final product itself keeps you so pumped up because it just makes you want to make more things because it just makes you so happy because your work is put out there. So that is very rewarding. A surface pattern is any print, any piece of art that can be used on a product. That pattern or print could be a standalone pattern. For example, if it's just a flower motif, maybe pasted on a water bottle, that is a standalone motif or a pattern that you want to create. And the other is a repeat pattern. So any artwork that you make repeats endlessly. So you don't know where it starts or ends, but it's a repeat pattern. So essentially, it's more about keeping in mind that whatever you make has to work for a particular surface, be it a wallpaper, be it bed linen. It's always going to be super different. Something on a wallpaper might not work for a mug or bed linen. So it's basically understanding what art goes there, and also technically through the use of softwares making it possible, like printable in terms of color, also in terms of size, scale. So yeah, it's basically a piece of art. It's literally a piece of art that can be used on any surface. Like anyone who is creative enough to make some art, even if it's just like a few motifs, I think that's a great start. Since surface pattern is all about work of art, colors play a lot of, like it plays a very big role. I realized that a little late in my journey, but I think it's made the bigger difference for sure. For your basic understanding, one should do like basics in textile design. That creates foundation. Uh, if you had to actually, study that, uh, textile design again has two specializations. You can get into weaving or you can get into print. I specialized in print again because I wanted to get into surface pattern design. So that helps you understand the techniques that you can use to print on fabric. Post that, one could directly do a master's or gain industry experience. Uh, my personal opinion, having that industry experience goes a long way because till you don't know how your prints can work for the industry, I mean, the knowledge that you gain during your master's might not be so convincing or fulfilling because you need to know what is working for the client in this case. So I think a master's post a little industry experience would definitely help. I think you're not bound to education in this case. If you're creative enough, you can create your own art, learn a few things through like there are a lot of courses available. There's Skillshare, there's uh, Domestika, there's Udemy, which helps you understand how to use the softwares to your advantage. And you're good to go. If you don't have like a formal education, you need to keep like upskilling and understanding a lot of things on your own. Like initially, I think it's super important to learn basics of Illustrator, basics of Photoshop. These two are super important. I also use a lot of Procreate now, Procreate and also Fresco. If you have an iPad and if you're not very comfortable painting something by hand, but if you feel like you want to use a pen and like directly make it on your iPad, so that's also a beautiful option, which allows you to very seamlessly make organic patterns and stuff. So Domestika has quite a few courses for beginners in terms of Illustrator, Photoshop, because anyone who wants to get into this field needs to know basics of it and then use those tools to make a pattern. So first, I think it's super important to learn the software and then go ahead, use it to make a pattern. If an internship is not always easy to get, I took some time to get my own. But if your portfolio is strong enough and if you put yourself out there through Instagram or I mean, there's so many platforms today to showcase your art, which can make you more visible. So that would really help because portfolio is your hero in this case. Doesn't matter how many years you put in study, but if your portfolio is brilliant, I mean, you can be really visible, but you need to put yourself out there for sure. When I come across a client, a potential client, and when we have a chat, the very first thing that we look into is a mood board. So when you're freelancing, you're on your own. Generally, if like in a job situation, there's a possibility that you're already given a mood board and you're working on the patterns, you're doing that back end work. But I mean, you're an all-rounder, like you need to figure everything out, right? So, as a freelancer, what I would generally do is once I get a brief, I would like delve deep into what the topic is and what the collection should look like. Also, if it's aligning well with the brand identity, because that is super important. You can have like a very beautiful pattern, but if it's not working for the brand, I mean, you're nowhere, right? So it takes a lot of research, a lot of visual research. Like I pick a lot of images that also emote that feeling, not necessarily look very beautiful, but also like bring that entire vibe together. Uh, since I've done color psychology, through time I've realized that color comes first. There was a point when I would first make the pattern and then figure my colors later. But I think with time and experience and understanding, I've realized that color is the first thing that I think is important when you make a pattern or a collection for someone. So we go through the mood board, the color palette, then we move through initial sketches. We see whether we are on the same page or no, and then we start further developing the pattern. It could be hand done, digitized later, scanned and digitized, and then made into a repeat pattern, or it could be like a pattern that's directly like digitally made, and then you work on the color variations as per the collection or the brand's requirement. I would work on specific projects. I would work more at the back end. I would always have someone going for the meeting, figuring everything out, like the brief, the colors, everything, and then I would be the one who would make the pattern the way the client wants it. So it was more like very, very project to project, very direct in that sense. Freedom was less because again, I didn't have the freedom most of the times to create my own collection. Just luckily, when I worked at Bharat Floorings, I was lucky enough to, I mean, have that opportunity to have my own tile collection and have my own wallpaper range. But that took some time, maybe with experience. I mean, I built that trust for them to be able to give me that opportunity. Now, that, like a job situation versus freelance, once I got into freelance, I didn't want to get out of it because it gave me all the freedom. It gave me the freedom to experiment, to explore techniques, to also kind of choose the clients that I want to work with. In a job, you don't get that freedom. I mean, whatever is on your plate, I mean, you need to eat it. But when I talk about freelance, the world became my market. I mean, I would get in touch with people in India, also abroad, get connected, also talk to a lot of people, network, communicate. So that kind of started building my clientele, my network, my understanding about the field also kept getting better because I was the one who uh, I mean, I had to make decisions on my own at that point. Even when it comes to say taking up a project, even if something doesn't work for me, like it was easy for me to say a no versus I mean in a job situation. So freelance definitely gave me a lot of freedom. Also working on different projects, different products. So now I also work with a home furnishing firm. I also work with a clothing brand. I also work with a stationery brand. So I think it gives me so much exposure. It makes me more intrigued. In fact, that my pattern can, like, I'm always on the lookout that okay, now where else can I put my art? So I think the freedom, definitely. I mean, freelance gave me a lot of flexibility, freedom, building my own timelines. I think portfolio is very important. You can get in touch with people through LinkedIn. There are a lot of events that keep happening, art events. Since I'm Mumbai based, but I'm sure like a lot of cities have like a lot of community meets and stuff. So that is one thing that is really important because networking has helped me a lot. There's no fixed number as to how many projects you need to display in your portfolio, but definitely put your best work out there. Also, make sure to put work that is meaningful, that tells a story, because you want the person viewing it to also connect with you. Easy to make a beautiful portfolio, have a beautiful layout, but something that connects with the person. Like I could have say 50 patterns, but not all of them work for your portfolio. You put your best work in your portfolio. Also try and put work that you would like to pursue in the future. If I'm making a lot of digital patterns, and if I want to get in, like I want to create a niche, I want to like set myself apart and become a person who makes only digital patterns and be a specialist, then I would definitely put only digital patterns in my portfolio. If like a few projects speak to you and if you feel they are like good pieces of work and you want to showcase them, I think a few of them are okay for your portfolio, because it also helps the person understand how versatile you are as a designer. So even if you're applying for a particular role, if a person is aware that okay, she can do this as well, it is a bonus. It somewhere adds to your skill, and of course focus on what's more important, but make sure that other people know about your skills and how you can adapt in their environment. A day in my life is literally like filled with a lot of color, a lot of inspirations all around me. It's a lot of creative stuff actually. So if I had to like actually break it down, it starts with doing a lot of research, also being up to date with trends. So like reading a lot about color, reading a lot about uh, the patterns that are working well in the industry. Uh, then I would say make mood boards. I would make color palettes that could also work in the future. So you're not limited to a project that you get. You always are like prepared for anything that's going to come. So that really helps, like having your own color, like having your own color book or having your own inspiration book that you can have. So even when something comes along, you're always so prepared, you're always so confident when you have to work on something. So of course when there's a project brief, as I said, it's always a mood board, color palette. You meet the client, you start sketching, you keep sketching even when you don't have a project, because that's uh, I mean that is a foundation that you don't want to break. You want to be persistent, you want to like consistently practice and get better. So yeah, like my day is literally like super creative that way. Like the entire day goes by in research, in like also playing with color. Yeah, like most of the times when it's a project, you work on a project, but if not, I'm still like totally like into this entire process and trying to build my own patterns as well that could be used or later, or to create something of my own or build my own brand. still like definitely now the value for art and creativity has increased in India. But at the time I started, a lot of people didn't even understand what this is, or like what would you do with a surface pattern. People are understanding and people are getting to it. And even if you create a beautiful piece of art, often the the price that you put for it is not valued. They don't get it. For them, it's more like, okay, you created a piece of art, but how can it be so expensive, or how? So I think that is it's a great barrier, because even when I work with clients, they often don't tend to understand that why would I price something. The effort, like the process that goes behind it, is often not understood. So it's very important to know where to stop. It's like, since you're a creative, it's very easy to get trapped and to like go deep into this entire process, and you don't know where to stop. So that is something that comes across as a challenge a lot of times. So that is something that you need to deal with. One of the challenge is again plagiarism, because like we discussed earlier, that it's easy for someone to pick up your work, or I mean, make it their own. So that is a challenge. But as I said, that it's important to be true to your work, and I mean, the right people will come to you. Also, one of the challenges that I face is a block. A lot of times, when you're making so many patterns day in and day out, it's easy to fall out of ideas. Starting out, definitely, like, it is difficult no matter what field you're in, but you'll only get paid in royalties is a myth. It's not about just getting paid in royalties. There are like a lot of other ways to make an income as a surface pattern designer. Since everything around you has pattern in it, I think only you can imagine the scope. And also, if someone wants to create a niche or wants to narrow down into a particular field, I mean, both the possibilities are endless. It's endless. The scope is endless. It's never saturated, because like, one idea would always lead to another. So I definitely don't believe that it's saturated and, oh, I can't get work. If you're out there, if you're connecting with the right kind of people, there's space for everyone. Because I myself, I'm just a surface pattern designer, and I don't feel the need to have another job with it. But definitely you can branch out as a surface pattern designer. There's a lot you can do. You can get into a lot of different things to make multiple sources of income as a surface pattern designer. A graphic designer, for example, if they also use the similar softwares, they use Photoshop, they use Illustrator. So a graphic designer, if knows how to repeat a pattern, can make a very smooth shift into this industry, because you know your softwares. But to stay relevant, I would say, if you are a surface pattern designer and if you know your softwares well, you need to keep upgrading in your own niche or in your own field. You don't need to, I mean, learn UI UX to be able to stay relevant as a surface pattern designer. One, since I mean, you're already making a switch, you always like feel a little underconfident initially. You feel like, okay, I don't know if I'll be able to do this. You're in a very vulnerable state. So first thing is to not be um, afraid of the learning curve, because it's gonna take some time. It's gonna take you to, I mean, learn a few softwares to be able to understand this process. So not be afraid of the learning curve. Second, to make a lot of patterns when you're not there yet, when you're still not recognized as a surface pattern designer. This period is very interesting. from the point when you start exploring and experimenting till you actually call yourself a surface pattern designer. I would call that a pre-pro era. It's the best time when you can explore, you can use different techniques, you can use different mediums, you can use different softwares, mix, match, everything, and create something that is so distinctive to you. You will find yourself in this pre-pro era. So I think use that time very wisely. Like technology, definitely. I mean, it's super fast paced. Like even today, if you know a software, for example, Photoshop, like you have so many new tools coming up, and you need to keep upskilling yourself to be able to, I mean, like walk hand in hand with the world, or so I think one should always upskill. Even though I know Photoshop, but if say 2 3 years down the line there's something new that comes up, I think one should take it as a challenge and like make it your own, because it's very important. Otherwise it's easy to get lost, it's easy to get irrelevant, so it's better to adapt to that change. I remember when we spoke about AI, or when we heard about AI, it feels like a threat. It feels like, okay, I mean, I don't know if I'll be needed anymore. I myself have been figuring ways to use AI in the system. So what I realize is that if you use that to your advantage, if you use that to make your work quicker, you're still going to be there where you are. It's not going to take anything away from you. You need to use that as a supporting element, as an aid to make things better for you, rather than let it take everything from you.